good, everybody? It's your boy Everton. So today we're talking about US Mobile versus Visible by Verizon, and I did use both services. I'm a user of the services. I didn't just get it to test it out. And essentially, I'm going to tell you guys about the data quality, call quality, the features that they have to offer, and some of the drawbacks, some stuff that you guys really need to be customers of it to really know about the service, right? You can't just, these are things that you can't read on the website. So let's go ahead and get into it. And FYI, there is a link to both these carriers. It's an affiliate link. If you do click on it, it will help out the channel. So first off, let's talk about US Mobile first. Now, US Mobile is a little bit unique. They offer two versions of their service. There's Warp 5G, which essentially uses Verizon service, and it is the ultra wideband service all the way up until like millimeter wave. They don't offer any international like calling or anything like that, but the data quality, has the ability to go really, really fast. Unlimited calls, talk and text, and they do have priority hotspot, which essentially means that they're gonna give you an allotment of hotspot data for the plan that you choose, and that will operate at the exact same speed as it would as if you're just using your data. That's a little bit different on the Visible by Verizon side, and I'll talk about that later. But yeah, so I did use a Warp 5G. Now they do offer another flavor of their service as well. It's GSM 5G. It's essentially using T-Mobile's towers to give you service, and it has midband. I'm not sure if it goes all the way up to like the millimeter wave and things like that, but that service is typically pretty good. I have Mint Mobile, which uses the same T-Mobile towers, and it's pretty fast. So, but I did use 5G ultra wideband, the Warp that uses Verizon's. When it comes to Visible by Verizon's, I'm going to compare it to the Visible Plus because essentially US Mobile just gives you automatic access to the ultra wideband, and that Visible Plus plan is the only one that does give you access to the ultra wideband up to the millimeter wave. So with Visible Plus, you do get 50 gigabytes of priority data. It's just one plan. You do get unlimited hotspotting, but it is capped the speed at 5 megabits per second. It's essentially enough to run like, you can watch media on it. I give my daughter access to my mobile data sometimes, and she watches her shows on it with no problem, but it's not at high resolution, typically at 480, but it is unlimited. Now with Visible Plus, though, you do have international calling options, which is important to some people. I know it's important to me. And essentially, I have people that are family members that I call from Jamaica. My family calls people in Canada and Jamaica and things like that. Now, when it comes to data quality, I'm going to talk about US Mobile first, and then I'll go into Visible by Verizon. So US Mobile's data quality is excellent. I really loved it. It was really fast. The latency was non-existent for me. No perceivable like actual latency or delay. YouTube videos played at full HD, and I bumped it up to like 4K. And even if there was like a slight circle, like because 4K uses more data, it would just play within like quarter of a second. It was just so good, and there wasn't any buffering or anything like that. And I really like that about it. After you use your allotment of your ultra wideband 5G, which also is priority, which means that essentially if the network does get busy, it won't slow down. After you do that, it acts like normal Visible. So you get the mid-band 5G, which isn't really the greatest, but it's not terrible either. It's enough so that you can get through the rest of the month. But the service really performed really well. One thing I will say is that it does have more options when it comes to the plan, and they all start giving you access to 5G ultra wideband. So you can essentially choose which allotment of data is right for you without you having to immediately sacrifice not having access to the 5G ultra wideband. So now talking about Visible Plus. So Visible Plus does have access to 5G ultra wideband, but they offer one plan, and it has 50 gigabytes of priority data. Now, it's cited for multiple sources that if you're on ultra wideband, that you don't get any of the data that you utilize counting toward the priority data, which is great, right? Essentially what that means is that you have a longer period of sustained, like high performing data. That's really the good ultra wideband data that you really want. So that's actually a bonus. Hotspotting is available, but it is capped at 5 megabits per second. But here's a difference though. I did notice that Visible Plus, like the level or the bars on my phone, they would always recognize that Visible had either like more bars quicker than US Mobile did. So I'd walk around and my phone would say Visible had 3 or 4 bars, but whatever it had, US Mobile would have one less bar, then like 5 seconds later, it would get the same amount of bars. It was like Visible was connecting to the more access quicker than US Mobile was, and US Mobile was just catching up. That's not really a big deal in my opinion. It's like 5 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds. So, just something that I did consistently notice. But the thing that did make a difference though is that when I go to work, I barely have any service. No one really does. It's just the building that I'm in. And I noticed that I don't really have any really good service with Visible, but I do have some, and US Mobile would say like SOS on it, right? It would barely get any service. So there is that aspect of it. It seems like in extreme situations that Visible is gonna creak out on top. Now, when it comes to data overall, my preference probably would be Visible for a couple reasons. Number one is that the ultra wideband, when you're on that, it doesn't count towards your mobile like priority data, that really fast data that you need to be on. Visible data plan seems a little bit more generous. Now you can get more data on US Mobile. You're gonna have to pay $50, which I think is like $5 more for like Visible Plus, but you get 100 gigabytes, right? And the good thing about US Mobile is that if you do hotspot a lot to other devices, you have an allotment of hotspot data. It's gonna perform just like your actual service. I remember one time my internet went out and I was on Visible and I tried to stream data to a TV, and it was like standard quad. I couldn't stream any HD because I was hotspotting it. And with US Mobile, you literally use 50 gigabytes for straight high speed hotspotting, and it makes just surfing the internet, doing whatever you're gonna do if you're gonna hotspot, a little bit more efficient. I don't really hotspot that often, and if it is to my daughter, she doesn't care if it's like standard definition. So it is what it is, right? They're both great. But one thing I do want to talk about is the account features or the online app experience. US Mobile is top tier in this. US Mobile gives you almost complete transparency. They're miles ahead of other companies. Essentially, their dashboard tells you essentially everything that you've done as far as using data, which is great because you can analyze like where you're at within your plan as far as how much data you use. I really like that visibility. That way I can make the best decision for myself for the next time that I do want to maybe potentially change a plan or assess what I've utilized. They also tell you how many texts that you've sent if you're on like text messaging still, or they also can tell you the call minutes that you've utilized for the month. So I really like that. With Visible, they don't have that transparency at all. I know people will tell you that you can get this information from your phone, but my phone is not providing me like mobile data. My mobile carrier is. So at the end of the day, I want to know what they think or believe that I've used or what they have assessed. But I'm really impressed with what US Mobile has done. So their app experience and their customer services, I mean, they have a US Mobile has a full-blown customer service line. Whereas with Visible, they have to do it on, they have to initiate the customer service online. I've actually had to handle an issue with Visible by Verizon, and they're pretty efficient. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like that chat was dope. And mine was like I needed a SIM card replacement, right? And so there's that. So let's talk about like someone like my issues with the service, right? So, or with the company themselves. So I'm gonna tell you a one-off experience that I had. I have a Galaxy S23. It's unlocked. I bought it from Samsung, and Visible didn't support it with eSIM. Neither did US Mobile. But yeah, so like they seem like they have the same issues consistently across like when it comes to phone compatibility. Where I think Visible wins is their referral program. Their referral program, and not if you don't take a part of this, then this might not apply to you, but the referral program is a lot more simple on Visible. Essentially, you just tell somebody, you put your code out there on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you'll be able to rack up and bank 12 referrals. So essentially every month you get $20 off your bill, and you help spread the word about Visible. With US Mobile, they do cap. So they give you $25 per, but they do cap it to, I forgot, I think it's like 10, right? So you can essentially get 25 per, which is more than what Visible offers because they only offer 20, but it's, it doesn't continue to go off. So you get $250 off, and it's actually in like a Visa digital card, so you can use it wherever you want to versus it just being like service credit. The reason why it's irritating is because why cap it, right? Are you saying that you only want this amount of people to come over to incentivize me? And they also are a little bit too specific, saying that if they find out that these aren't people that they reserve the right to like take the credit away. Why do you care? You have a customer. I get it. You don't want people to spam things, but seriously, it just kind of shows the culture of the company where they care too much about things that really don't make a difference, right? Secondly, I've never heard of like US Mobile outside of YouTube and on like websites when I search for it. What I'm trying to say is that they don't really have a marketing budget. FYI, I am their marketing department. YouTube is your marketing department. Reddit is your marketing department. Like we are essentially the marketing department. Why are you gonna cap, the incentive for us to market your product? Especially because it's a good product, right? One last thing I did want to say is that each of these services, it is prepaid, which means that you can switch, but you have to wait until the current month ends. So let's just say that you chose with Visible by Verizon. You're just like, hey, you know what? I really don't need all this speed. I'm around Wi-Fi a lot. I just want a service. Well, then you'd have to finish out the month and then downgrade your plan or upgrade, etc. And with US Mobile, similar. If you're like, hey, Warp 5G isn't great for me, I'd rather use T-Mobile version, the GSM 5G, you have to wait a month to switch. But other than that, they're really great services. What I will tell you is that I didn't keep one of these services, and it's because of essentially how I, pay for this, the service, or, a lot of it is done because I cover it on YouTube and I am able to put my referral links out there, and essentially, Visible just has more interest. They're a more popular brand. It's cheaper for me, so I get to knock off some of my bill off of that. So it's essentially $20 less for me. So I did keep Visible because of the fact that it's just cheaper. But US Mobile would have been better for me if I needed more flexibility on the plan that I choose. Because I'm not gonna lie, the $25 plan with 30 gigabytes of hotspot data was perfect. I had to run multiple speed tests to drain the data so I can get to the 5G and then see that, hey, to test what it performs like after you use the allotment of data, which if I didn't make this clear, it works like regular 5G, which means it's not terrible. It's not great though. And yeah, so I just chose the plan that made more sense for me financially, was Visible. But if I needed flexibility in my plan and visibility on like how much data I'm using, I personally feel that US Mobile would have been the better choice for me. But once again, it's all about the money for me, and I need the one that's cheaper. But hopefully this answered a lot of your questions. If you have any additional questions, definitely leave them in the comments. But until next time, I'm Everton, and I do videos Everton's way. Peace.